Welcome to today's Retirees with Wayne Maslick, Certified Financial Planner, a program designed to educate you on family-focused retirement and tax planning.
And welcome to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslick of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. If you know someone who is getting ready to retire, or you yourself are getting ready to retire, you need to pay attention, especially today. Now, we talk about near retirees and all of that all the time on this program, but you need to call your friends and say, listen, Wayne is going to be talking about Social Security today and some of the ways that you can maximize your Social Security. Now, Wayne, as we were talking off the air, you were telling me there's hundreds of ways to get your Social Security?
Yeah, I mean, depending on your background, if you're married, widowed, divorced, single, how you filed your taxes in the past, it all has an effect on your Social Security benefit and how much you're eligible for and when you should take it. And that's kind of what we'd like to talk about today is, when is an opportune time to take your Social Security?
So let's start with where we are today. If someone is a near retiree, they're in their 50s, early 60s, and they've been working at a factory or they've been a professional or whatever throughout their life, when do you start really taking a look at this?
Well, I encourage my clients now, no matter what age. I was meeting with some 30-year-olds recently, and I recommend going to the government website. It's ssa.gov.
Okay.
And you sign up and get a password and log in set up, and you track your Social Security yearly, and not necessarily to track your benefits yearly, but to make sure that your income has been recorded properly over the years.
Okay.
And we've run into instances where people earned a certain amount but didn't get credit for it, and you want to make sure those numbers are correct.
Okay.
And it'll show you. It's like the old form they used to send in the mail.
Right.
Now they want you to go online to get that information, but you need to track that. If you're a couple, you both need to go sign up separately and check out the numbers.
One of the things that and again, we talk about these kinds of things all the time, but not just. The nice thing about having someone like you helping us is you're not just looking at the financial part of it. You're looking at sort of our overall basis. What did we do in the past? What's our plans for the future? All of these things play into this.
Yeah, I mean that's a problem with a lot of the shows, either radio or television that you see out there. Some of the bigger names in the financial industry, they and there's nothing wrong with them, but they just talk blanket statements, and it's different when you take your Social Security, because it does depend on your family makeup, it depends on your health, life expectancy, family history, and you have to weigh all those things together before you make the decision on when to take your Social Security. Most people, they just take it when they can.
Right.
If they're eligible at 62 and they're not going to be making too much money where they'll get penalized, they take it. And in many instances, that's the worst thing they could do.
Really? Why would that be the worst? Is it just because of the overall financial part of it, or what?
Well, the earlier you take it, that'll be the smaller benefit.
Okay, sure.
Right? So each year, each month you put it off or delay taking it, your benefit goes up.
Okay.
And we run these scenarios for clients. We have the Social Security software where we plug in all their data, and it literally runs, like you mentioned at the open of the show, all the different scenarios, the possible scenarios for that client. And there's hundreds of them. And when you plug in the data for the client and then hit calculate, you see all the different scenarios running. It's eliminating them.
Okay.
Many of them by the second. You can see it calculate. It takes maybe a minute or two for the result to come up.
Okay.
And then it tells you the optimum time to take your benefit, where you're going to get more in your pocket. So, to kind of answer your question, the earlier you take it, the less your payment will be. and there's a break-even point where, you know, if you wait to a certain age, you're going to get a higher payment, but for less years, you know, depending on your life expectancy. If you lived a normal life expectancy, generally speaking, you don't want to take your Social Security at 62. You know, you want to delay it. The longer you live, you know, the longer your life expectancy, you know, the more reason to delay your Social Security payment as long as possible. You know, someone that takes it at 62 compared to someone making the same income that takes it at 70, that the person that waits till 70 gets a, you know, huge payout. You know, double the payout. Instead of 1,000, they're going to get 2,000 or more. So if they live another 20 years, and again, we do all the math for the folks when they come in. You know, you can see how the longer you wait, the more will be in your pocket, and in many cases, it's hundreds of thousands more by waiting or doing it a certain way.
Hundreds of thousands more?
Lots, yeah, for the big income earners. The difference is big. Of course, it's many years. You know, if you're 62 and you live to be 90, 92, you know, that's 30 years of payout. You know, 30 years at 1,000 or 22 years at 2,000, you know, just, you know, 30, you know, you just do the math there, it's hundreds of thousands.
And that's what you help the folks do, is to sit down and say, okay, here's where I'm at, here's where I'd like to be. You know, you talk to some folks and they say, well, you know, no matter what, I'm retiring at this number because I'm tired of working.
Yeah, well, and again, you don't necessarily have to keep working. I mean, if you have other means, you know, and depending on your overhead and all that, you could still be retired and just delay taking your Social Security. But there's other factors too that we'll get into in the show.
All right. Well, friends, listen. Call your friends and neighbors and have them tune in, and do this. You can get a hold of Wayne at wayne@todaysretirees.com. And the other thing is 866-626-3990. That's Wayne's phone number. Call and make an appointment and sit down with Wayne, and he will help you figure out what is best for you and your family's needs. If you call on the weekend, please leave a name and a number, and one of the ladies will give you a call back. 866-626-3990. When we return, we're going to talk more about Social Security and how it affects you, and when maybe you should start thinking about drawing it, and some of the scenarios that will help you make wise decisions. We'll be back right after this.
Hi folks, Wayne Maslick here, President and owner of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management and Certified Financial Planner. The market is at its all-time high right now. The Dow over 15,000, the S&P over 1,600. Have you been taking too much risk? Do you need a second opinion on what you've been doing with your money? Folks, now is a good time to call and reassess what you're doing. Call the office, 866-626-3990. Set up your appointment today. That's 866-626-3990.
And welcome back to Today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslick of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Today we're talking about Social Security. Maybe you didn't know this. I didn't know this. There are literally hundreds of ways for you to draw your Social Security. And probably the worst way that you can take it, we're going to learn about, Wayne was talking about a minute ago, is to walk down to the Social Security office and say, sign me up because I'm of that age.
At 60, when you're first eligible, yeah, at 62. That is, if you're going to live a nice, long, normal life, that is, you know, most likely not the best way to take it, because you're going to get the least payout, and there are break-even years. And again, it depends on a lot of things. Just not taking any of the other factors into play now, just looking at age and life expectancy, you should wait as long as you can. If you have poor health in your family, or your siblings had passed early, you don't think you're going to be around that long, or you have an illness, you know, then that may be an argument to take it sooner, depending on your spouse. A lot of times, see, if you take it too soon, then and you're not going to be around that long, then you're also kind of shooting your spouse in the foot with a lower payout. Because your spouse, gets their Social Security or half of yours, whichever's more, and then also when you pass, they're going to get your Social Security or theirs, whichever's higher. So if yours is a lower number, and your spouse is going to be living a lot of years, well, now you may have gypped them out. But we look at all this.
Okay.
You also want to look at continuing to work. We've talked about this in the past. There are ways you can file for your Social Security and then suspend your benefits and have your spouse collect on them. As an example, if you're a professional, say an engineer, and you make a good living, and your spouse was a homemaker, never paid in, so really their benefits are only based on yours.
Right.
Well, there's ways where your spouse can file and get your benefits while you keep working and building for a higher benefit for your own self for
Really?
down the road. Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people miss the boat. Sometimes, a lot of times, I see the spouse just claim their benefits,
Okay.
which is a small number compared to half of the working spouse.
And the Social Security Department probably doesn't tell you this.
Generally speaking, no. And sometimes they'll even argue with you or say you're not eligible for the benefits you are, and you have to sell them. You have to show them
Right.
that, yeah, this is or you take it to the next level, to the national level instead of the local office.
Sure. So the wife, in this case, that's just, because typically they're the homemaker. So the wife could draw the husband's Social Security. He signs up for it and suspends it. Is that what you said?
Generally speaking, yeah. I don't want to get
Okay.
into too much
Right.
detail. We're not giving instructions on
Right.
the show. I just want folks to know there are options out there
Okay.
that involves that type of a transaction.
Wow.
And it works the other way too. There's also issues with if people have worked for the government, where the government doesn't let you get your full Social Security and your full state of Ohio pension. They cut back your benefits.
Sure.
So there's ways to work around that too
Okay.
and get your highest benefits. And again, if you've been divorced and you were married to somebody that was a higher wage earner than yourself, there's ways you can collect on their benefits, even though you're divorced from that person.
Okay.
All these things come into play when making that decision. And again, we're not giving instructions or recommendations on this show. We're just letting folks know there are many options, and
Right.
they need to work with a professional to run all those scenarios and see what's best for them.
Right. Because number one, you don't want to leave money sitting there that you could use.
A lot of people do. Very many people do. They leave a lot of money on the table. And quite frankly, one of the reasons is people's fear of the government, and the financial situation that the government's in. They fear that their benefits may be cut or taken away at some point, so
Sure.
we're going to take them now, right? I'm going to take them while I can get them, is a lot of the view of these people that take it as soon as they can, and that's sometimes a no-no. Depending on how your faith in the government and how strong you feel Social Security will be around for you.
Right.
You should, in a lot of instances, wait. We see that when we run these numbers. But because folks fear that maybe their benefits will get cut or they'll start means testing or whatever the case, they want to take it while they can.
Right. Now, how? Which is before I get into that question, which is why we kept asking people to make that phone call, 866-626-3990. Give Wayne's office a call. Folks, you don't want to do a lot of this stuff by yourself because Wayne has, number one, the experience, he has the knowledge, and he has the software to sit down with you and to figure this out so that you make good, informed decisions.
Yeah, and the software, when we plug in the data, it's based on that person's history, their scenario, their life, their spouse's life and scenario. And then we show them the best options that that make the most sense, based purely on math. There's math. Math is math, and then we also factor in the personal situation of the family, the health, and the desires and objectives of that family.
And like you said, the history of longevity in the family.
Yeah.
You know, if you have a family that typically lives into their 90s, that's probably different than a family that typically lives into their 70s.
Exactly.
So, I mean, all of those scenarios, but you want to make sure you do what's wise and what's smart for your family.
Yeah, and if you have a family that typically lives into their 90s, you know, to take your Social Security early can be a mistake.
Sure.
Really, because there's a certain, and the growth is about 7 or 8%. Every year you delay taking your benefit, your payment is going to be about 7 or 8% more.
Okay.
So if it's $1,000 this year a month, by waiting a year it'll be $1,080. You know, and then by waiting 2 years it'll be $1,160. So that adds up quick if you're going to live 30 more years.
Right,
The
absolutely.
longer you wait.
So it could, like you were saying, it could be a lot of money that you could not receive, or it could be a lot of money that you still leave on the table, or it could be a lot of money that you can use in your retirement if you do it right. So pick up that phone, 866-626-3990, 866-626-3990. If you call on the weekend, please leave a name and number, and one of the ladies in Wayne's office will call you back. They're great folks. No pressure. They're just going to set up an appointment. You can come in and sit down with Wayne and figure out what works best for your specific life and for your specific family. We'll be back right after this.
The market is at its all-time high right now. The Dow over 15,000, the S&P over 1,600. Have you been taking too much risk? Do you need a second opinion on what you've been doing with your money? Folks, now is a good time to call and reassess what you're doing. Call the office, 866-626-3990. Set up your appointment today. That's 866-626-3990.
Welcome back to today's Retirees with Certified Financial Planner Wayne Maslick of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. Today we've been talking about Social Security and giving you some scenarios and working through some plans, helping you work through some plans. I'm not old enough for Social Security, so we're not working through plans for me yet.
I don't know. We won't get into your age or your birth year. Yeah, you're ways away yet.
I'm a ways away, but it's not too early, like you were saying earlier, it's not too early to start thinking about this.
Absolutely. Now is a perfect time for yourself to run the numbers and make plans to see if you're going to take Social Security or postpone it, or if you're going to file and then suspend your benefits and let your spouse collect on yours. There's all.
Well,
now's the time to start looking at that. Absolutely.
My spouse says the day she's eligible, she's gone. She's taken hers and gone.
But is she going to collect on hers, or is she going to collect on yours?
Well, those are some of the things
at.
we're going to have to figure out.
Absolutely. That's what we're talking about here.
Right. Now, let me ask you, probably not you probably get these questions all the time. You got John Doe out there, or Joe Blow, or whatever his name is, and he decides he's going to retire at, 66 years old, because that's where the numbers worked out, and he's going to draw his Social Security. And he realized that he really doesn't like to fish every day, and he doesn't like to golf every day.
Right.
And he wants to go back and do something.
And he doesn't want to watch The Price is Right all day, right?
Exactly.
Or
and he's finished sipping iced tea or mint juleps or whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the age when you retire or semi-retire, which to me, that's the way the country is going. That's the way the population's going. Is down the road. This is in my opinion. Folks will not be retiring. They're going to back it down, so to speak, dial it down to a comfortable level of work where they could still make a nice income, supplement their needs with Social Security and investments and pensions and whatever else, and kind of work until they put them into ground or until they just can't anymore. People's lifestyles now are getting more expensive. They're buying cars more. People are eating out more instead of growing their own food and making a home cooked meal. Just look around here. Just look at the main roads and all the restaurants and how packed they are every night.
Sure.
Right? So people their grocery bill, their entertainment bill, their travel bills, to travel to see the grandkids, or a lot of people are into traveling now. So their retirement income need is pretty substantial compared to the old days.
Sure.
So folks are going to have to keep working, longer.
Okay.
70s, 75, 80 years old, just bringing in some income. If you make 10 to 20 grand a year just dabbling in what you like to do, very part-time, there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is if you need more than the IRS wants you to make, if you're not full retirement age. So if you're not full retirement age, they want to keep you around $14,000, $15,000 right now. Okay, so if you take your Social Security before your full retirement age, which is generally 65, 66, you got to keep your earnings under the $14,000 or $15,000 range. Now we can manipulate a little bit through depositing into deductible IRAs, and if you're self-employed, by setting up like a SEP or a simple plan, we could hide a lot of the money where they could really make more than the 14 or 15, but we can't show it on their tax return, because then the IRS really starts penalizing them. Once you're over full retirement age, you can make as much as you want. Your Social Security will still be taxed if you get over certain levels, but you won't pay such big penalties.
I see.
So it really, again, we use the words, it depends a lot on the show.
Sure.
To answer your question, it depends on that person's situation.
Right.
But you got to explore all this.
Right, and that's the thing that I've been at the kitchen table, when my parents had some of these discussions years ago, and they were, of course, they didn't know what a financial planner was. And they're sitting there saying, well, if you do that and I do this,
we'll
and
be okay.
Yeah. But it's one of those things that you need good, sound financial advice, and that's why it's important, friends, to pick up that phone, 866-626-3990, 866-626-3990. Give Wayne's office a call. Again, if it's on the weekends, please leave your name and your phone number, and they will call you back during business hours and try to set up an appointment.
We do the website too. todaysretirees.com. We have our Facebook and LinkedIn connections there, and you could watch and listen to these shows. We have links where you can go, check out past shows. You can download old or previous newsletters that I write every month. You could request to be on my newsletter list.
Sure.
It's free of charge. We send a newsletter out every month. It's very valuable, good information.
Absolutely.
So if they're not ready to make an appointment yet, but they still want to start thinking about some of this stuff, go to the website, check it out.
Right, absolutely. Friends, we'll be back right after this. Pick up that phone, 866-626-3990.
The market is at its all-time high right now. The Dow over 15,000, the S&P over 1,600. Have you been taking too much risk? Do you need a second opinion on what you've been doing with your money? Folks, now is a good time to call and reassess what you're doing. Call the office, 866-626-3990. Set up your appointment today. That's 866-626-3990.
And welcome back to Today's Retirees with certified financial planner Wayne Maslick of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management. We're talking today about Social Security and all of the different scenarios that come into play when you are thinking about it. And one of the things that we've been talking about today, Wayne, is it's never too early to start planning for it, is it?
No, I mean, when I work with folks, when we're looking at the income that's going to be available for them in retirement, Social Security is a big factor, and along with that is their expenses. You should not only be thinking and looking at your Social Security, but tracking your expenses up to your retirement years and seeing what your income needs are going to be. And then we apply that and compare it to the income that'll be available. Social Security, one of those resources.
Sure. Now, how does when you're figuring this out, how does a pension plan from a local employer or your own 401ks or IRAs or Roth IRAs, do they all play into the scenario with your Social Security?
No, absolutely. I mean, we look at all income sources, and more and more the pensions are going away, but there's still people that are going to be fortunate enough to receive pensions, and And when you look at those numbers, they're awesome. If you have a pipe fitter or a union electrician or concrete guy, mason, drywaller, whatever the case, you have these union pensions and Social Security. Now you're talking a real nice income stream, plus your investments, your IRAs, 401ks, everything else. And and the folks that have those pensions and other resources, they're more apt to put off taking Social Security and let that benefit grow and accumulate, and then get a larger payment down the road. But people where they don't have other resources, a lot of times they don't have a choice. They have to take it. And that sometimes, it's all we can do. Now,
does the pension, when you figure that in with the Social Security, does that reduce your Social Security benefits depending upon your pension or your IRA?
Generally speaking, and the kind of pensions that I was just talking about, no. You get your full Social Security and your pension. If you're a government worker, different story. Yeah, you get your pension, but it does reduce your Social Security in many instances.
So, but all of those scenarios, you got to sit down and look at that closely to make sure you're doing what's best for your family.
Absolutely. Your situation is unique. You can't compare it to everyone else. You have to run your numbers and look at your family makeup and your objectives.
Now, does as you run these numbers, can you massage those as you go? Say like you start, like we mentioned earlier, you take it at 65 and you realize that, I don't really like being off work, or I'd just like to work full time. Can I just stop taking it? And
you can absolutely stop your benefits. You can suspend your benefits and build more of a future benefit by not taking it. Even people that took it early, the Social Security Administration lets you pay back those benefits and still accumulate a higher payout. You can take them in the future at a higher rate. Most of the time it doesn't make sense, but sometimes it does.
Absolutely. Well, friends, listen, there's a lot of ways to do this. Don't do this by yourself. Get professional help. Give Wayne's office a call. 866-626-3990. 866-626-3990. You can also find him on the web at todaysretirees.com. Go there and you can find all of these episodes and you can watch them again. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you for being a part of Today's Retirees. We trust the information discussed on Today's Retirees has been a benefit to you. To schedule a no-cost or obligation appointment with Wayne, please call our office at 866-626-3990. A free newsletter is available by calling our office or visiting our website, todaysretirees.com. That's todaysretirees.com. Today's Retirees is a service of Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management, Wayne Maslick, Certified Financial Planner. The information on Today's Retirees and information on our internet website should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as the receipt of or substitute for personalized individual advice from Wayne Maslick or Great Lakes Benefits and Wealth Management.